Welcome back. As you can see behind me, the John Deere 530 is still in the shop, and I didn't get any parts yet. I don't really understand or know why I didn't. And we're kind of winding down with, I guess, we're being really busy to where we're in the shop all the time here. Now, we have had mild temperatures. We did just finish tilling and, I guess, ripping, however you want to word it, basically our big field area that we do have. So we finished that, and that's basically it for winter. It's been raining like the past 3 days. So any chances we did have of doing the garden up here are pretty much out of the picture before winter, because it's gonna be too muddy, so on and so forth. Anyway, I shouldn't say we're really winding down, because I mean, we don't have planting, harvesting, doing hay or anything like that. So we definitely don't have any of that stuff going on. However, there's tons of stuff that needs to be brought into the shop here to be worked on. And we're almost in January, and I haven't really done anything other than the last video you've seen where we were in the shop. Is we got the 530 here, we got that tire and the tube out, so I have to order some parts for this. And again, I really haven't done anything since then. So I really need to get moving here, get rolling, because there's a lot of stuff out here that we have to get into. And I want to share all this with you guys. And if this is your first time stopping by and you enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Definitely subscribe to the channel. So, as the video is titled, Farm Equipment Tour, and I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of detail as far as kind of what the farm is and kind of where we're at. Obviously, as I said, it is raining outside, so what better day to do this? We should be fixing things and working on things, but oh well. This John Deere 530 with power steering is currently in the shop. Be sure to check that video out. It's going to be part 1, where we kind of brought it in here, tore into it. I'll put a link for that up above. Anyway, this tractor right here, I do not know the exact specifics of it. I don't exactly know the year. I'm sure I could find that information out. However, so starting with this tractor, this would have been not necessarily the first tractor for the farm, but this is the first tractor starting kind of my journey. And this is not my tractor. So I'm just kind of doing the work on it and fixing it up. Basically, between my mom and my aunts, they're kind of the owners of this tractor. And in saying that, the farm as well. So the farm and this tractor would have been my grandpa's, and he has passed away a couple years back. So unfortunately, at that time, I did not know that I wanted to really get into farming. I definitely, helped him a lot and was around this stuff a lot, and around this tractor and many of his other tractors that he had and equipment. And we had a big sale here and an auction, and sold tons and tons of equipment. Combines, big John Deere tractors, corn pickers, you name it, we probably sold it. And the only thing that we kept was this tractor and a bush hog, like a 5-foot bush hog for this tractor. So that is kind of where we are at this point. Now, again, at that point, I had no idea that I really even wanted to, pursue farming at all. I enjoyed it, but I never really, otherwise what we did with the equipment, or maybe I would have bought some of that equipment because it was already here, would have been much easier. But it is what it is. It's my journey now, and that's how it is. So anyway, that's where this tractor comes from. And basically leading into that, I've watched my pap plant tons and tons of fields with this tractor and do tons of things with this. So this tractor has done a lot of work over the years. So it's definitely sentimental as well. Now, with that being said, the farm as well is not owned by me either. So all the fields that you see that I'm doing, other than where we had pumpkins planted and all that stuff on that 2-acre patch, I do own that. So I do own a 2-acre patch. And all these fields, which back in here where we cut hay this past season and over here next to the house, that is all leased by another farmer. So he farms everything else, all the other fields, like he plants stuff, but he does not do hay. So, you know, he said it was okay for me to take the hay. That's kind of where we've been at. And any areas, you know, that he doesn't do anything with, whatever. So that's kind of where that is. Eventually, my goal and my big dream is to eventually farm the entire farm. So someday I would like to be able to lease it, and that's kind of my goal. So with all that aside, in case any of you returning viewers are wondering, you know, do you own the farm? What is the farm? You know, that's kind of where that stands. So I'm going to try and go through this as much in order as I possibly can, and hopefully that it makes sense to you. So basically, the first piece of equipment that I would have bought would have been probably maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And that would have been not this rake, but the other rake that we had, which is, it's identical. It's the same thing, so I can use this as an example. Basically, the first piece of equipment would have been a hay rake, and it was the steel wheel rake, and that's what we did. Now, I didn't have a tractor, I didn't have a baler, I didn't have anything. So basically, the way I did all the hay was mow it with the 530 with the bush hog, which chops it. You run your RPMs very low, and that kind of helps, you know, not chop it up so fine. And then we would go through with the rake, and then I would pick it up all by hand and then throw it in the barn, just kind of like a hay mound. And then I built a plywood hand baler, I guess you could say is what it was. And I can show that in another video because it's kind of interesting. And that's how I would sometimes bale the hay. Otherwise, I would just let it in a big loose mound. So things have progressed a lot since then. So we're in 23, probably 21, I think is when I might have bought my first rake, my first piece of equipment. And then at that point, we would have moved on to, I bought the baler. So now we had a baler, figuring, you know, everything would work, and this is the New Holland 269. Now, if you have been watching a lot of the videos, you have found out that this 269 has pretty much, ever since I've bought it, giving me nothing but fits and nothing but problems. Something with the knotters back here, I'm not exactly sure what it is. I do apologize for the light, it's kind of poor in here. So this would have been the second piece that I would have bought, and that's it. That's all we had. We still were mowing with a bush hog, but at least we had a baler now that worked 30% of the time. So at some point in between there, at least last year or maybe the year before, I think it was last year, we ended up picking up this four-wheeler, and I use this every single day, basically to do the animal feeding along with this trailer. You know, it just helps tremendously in doing all that. So my neighbor had a bunch of hay equipment that was just sitting down in a pasture, kind of rotting away, not really, you know, they weren't using it, they were gonna just haul it for scrap. So I ended up buying that from them, and that came with the Peckway 710 hay fluffer tedder, which works. I haven't done anything to this. And then we also got the John Deere 1209 hay bind, which was in really good shape for sitting in a pasture for 6 years at least. That's minimum. Belts were still good, chains were still good, rollers are still good. I patched some parts of the roller with JB Weld, and that's a good way to patch them in so they stop flying apart. And I would have also gotten this rake. So then we had 2 rakes, and then we had all the hay equipment we needed. Now, some of this does have the teeth broke, and that's another project that we have to get in the shop. And we could combine, you know, or change some of these to the New Holland tines instead of, you know, these kind of cheaper ones. But anyway, so that's where that was. We finally had the rake. We had all the hay equipment we needed. So we got that stuff. We still did not really have a tractor at that point. So I was faced with a couple different things. I could use the John Deere 530, which easily would pull and operate this stuff. It operated that baler before, that's totally fine. The Haybine, right on the edge of probably having enough PTO horsepower, but it probably would do it. The older Haybines are a lot, you know, you can run a lot lower horsepower tractors than like a disc bine or anything like that. And then if you remember, we picked up the Farmall 504. Again, I'll put that video up here because that was one of those other things where that was kind of sporadic. It popped up, it was local at a dealer, and I jumped on it. Little bit, it was a narrow front, a little bit less horsepower than, you know, it did the job. I shouldn't say that. It did the job for what I needed it to do, and everything worked out, you know, pretty well for that. I used that to cut at least first and second cutting hay for sure, and you know, everything worked well, baled well. It did what it needed to do. It had some issues, but it was an older tractor as well. So, you know, everything old is gonna have its fits, its issues. Sometimes I think the older stuff's better, but that's just my opinion. And we would have gotten this hay wagon then. Now this is the one that I completely have redone. I cut my own runners, and you know, that saved a lot of money because those are not cheap if you have to go and buy those somewhere. And then I went and bought, you know, 2x6 treated lumber. That was the easiest. So basically this wagon, there's an interesting story behind this. This wagon did not steer. This was sitting on an abandoned, I shouldn't say abandoned farm, but a farm that was no more in operation, and it literally just sat there for years rusting away. It did not steer. The steering was completely seized on this. I mean, both sides up inside the shaft and whatever there were completely seized up. They did not turn. I ended up having to heat both sides pretty hard and put not a come along, but a chain in between and tighten it, continually tighten it, pulling each way, and it eventually broke them loose. But it took me many, many days or nights to be able to get this thing free to where it would turn. So we did that. And like I said, we cut the runners or the stringers, whatever you want to call them, put the decking on. And this was the hay wagon we used all last year, or this past hay season. And then since then, we also got this other hay wagon, which is a Grove running gear wagon. This one I have not done anything with yet. Again, there's videos posted to all this stuff, you know, when we went and got it and picked it up. So basically this one here, we didn't do anything with it yet. This is how I got it, how I brought it home. But, you know, got these wagons for really good deals. And since then, I have not seen running gears or hay wagons for, you know, that good of pricing. So I'm glad I jumped on it when I did. And I don't know. We'll see what that one turns into. Again, I just haven't done anything with it yet. So moving down the line, as I said, we had the 504. And then we come across this Farmall 460. I needed a wide front, wanted a wide front. Still would help to have a narrow front, which we do have the John Deere 530. That does not hurt to have it running and, you know, get run every once in a while. That would be a great raking tractor and a tedding tractor because it has a much tighter turning radius. But this for baling and cutting is much nicer. So this came, we traded the Farmall 504 for this and brought this back over the summer. Now this obviously needs a lot of work done as well, but this got us through the year. And you can see the wheel rot there. These are filled with calcium. But this tractor has done very well for what it is, and actually it needs some engine work, but it did get us through. So very thankful for that. And you know, once it's very nice paint and everything. So good tires, minus this one should be replaced. But then over this past summer at some point, I don't know how well you can see it, and I'll try and get a flashlight here. But this little piece, if you want to call it that, was the custom potato hilling digger middle buster machine that I built. And the disc portion of it works really well, the plow not so much. So we went a different route with that. as you can see down there, but it just kept bending. There's a lot of torque on that. The discs, however, the Hiller part works very well. And this was all custom built. And then this would be the 3-bottom John Deere plow. And again, I do apologize for the lighting. It's very poor. But this is a 3-bottom plow, 3-point that we picked up. And this was actually a 2-plow purchase that I did. I got this one and a 2-bottom, and I sold that one, and then I sold our original 2-bottom plow that we bought. So this is our 3rd plow, but this should work very well for what I'm trying to do. I do have plans to get that in the shop, go over it. There are some grease zerks on it, and you know, just kind of make sure everything's good. Probably throw some paint on it and get that ready. Also with that tractor, I forgot to mention, this is a custom 3-point. I did not make it, but it came with the tractor, so I do have to put that on as well. Next comes this 2-row corn planter. I'm not really sure on the brand that it is. This is for sale actually as well, but it does say Oliver on the seed bins and on the tag on the side of the frame, but frame-wise and the way everything's set up, it kind of resembles a John Deere. So this tongue looks custom, like somebody flipped the tongue upside down. I'm really not sure. But anyway, this 2-row corn planter, picked up over the summer at an auction. And we planted, you know, one kind of batch of corn with this. And that's what we used. Definitely needs some work. But when you're starting out, you gotta kind of make do with what you can. Now the first corn planter or seed planter that I ever had would have been this. And this is what I would plant sweet corn and field corn with the different discs. And you know, this thing works really well. I still use this occasionally to plant green beans and some beans and stuff like that in the garden, but it works very well. You need to see everything, don't you? I picked up a lot of equipment here within the last year. The majority of this stuff I didn't have. Basically, we had the baler, the rake, and that's about it. The majority of this stuff I picked up this in 2023, in this year, if my memory is serving me correctly. Then moving along, and a lot of these are in terrible shape. They need to be thrown away. I'm not using them fast enough. But we picked up this. This is again kind of something that's custom made on like a truck axle or something. I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but it is custom made. You can kind of see that. And you know, I got to figure out all the pump stuff and hosing, whatever. But it is, I think, 32 feet, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's like 32 feet width sprayer. And pick this up, you know, semi-local as well too. So the more local I can stay, the better off. I did travel for a lot of this stuff, some stuff further than I would have liked to, but it is what it is. Not everything's gonna be local. So the next thing would have been the manure spreader. Picked up this manure spreader. Definitely needs work for sure. This is a New Idea 12A, I believe. The floor is complete. All the boards are completely rotted. There's no doubt about that. Chains and stuff, however, all intact, all in good shape. The only gear that came off is this one, and that's because the wood ripped off there. So that is the reasoning behind that. All the other chains are intact. Everything's intact, but there's no wood. The wood is completely gone. So not a huge deal. Everything is intact with all the chains. So that would have been, that's another project we have, and that would have been another piece that we picked up. So you've seen the 2-row corn planter we're trying to sell, as I said. And the most recent thing that we have purchased and got is this John Deere 4-row corn planter. And this is a model 1240. It's actually the plateless. So I'm really excited to get this, you know, kind of all put back together and ready to go. Ultimately, as I said in the beginning of the video, my ultimate goal is to eventually be able to farm the farm, do all the farming for you know, the family farm. That's my ultimate goal, my dream that I have, and I'm really trying to push forward for that. So in the process of doing that, this is roughly about 99 acre farm. Not all tillable. There's only probably about 50 acres, 40 or 50 acres that are tillable. But even so, you don't want to be doing that. You know, if you're planting a 10, 12 acre field of corn, you don't want to be doing that with a 2-row corn planter. So I'm just trying to kind of prepare and, you know, get where we need to be. It does have the row markers as well. Again, I posted videos basically every time we went to get a piece of equipment. So if you would like to go back and check out any of those videos, they're on the channel. You know, we went and got the 460, I should say, the corn planter, the sprayer, all this equipment, it's posted. So anything that you want to see about any of this stuff in here, you can check it out. So as you can see, we do have a little bit of space yet. We have some space back there, some space up in the front here. But otherwise, it's pretty full. There is a local farmer who's renting that space out for his combine to store in there. But otherwise, you know, I'm definitely blessed with, you know, the amount of stuff that we picked up this year and with what we're able to do and continue to do. Hopefully at some point a combine will appear here on the farm. That's gonna be a work in progress because that's not the easiest thing to transport and deal with. So that's gonna be a task in itself. Anyway, I hope I didn't ramble too much, and I hope that kind of gave you guys, you know, at least a little bit of a tour and insight to the equipment that we do have and what we are dealing with, and, you know, kind of a little bit of backstory as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.